Wednesday Reflection, September 12, 2018. I'm Jermaine Gibson. From the Cave. Psalm 57 verse 1. The watchword for today. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me. For in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge, until the destroying storms pass by. It is believed that David wrote Psalm 57 out of the depths of despair and fear. We recall that when David was a teenager, he was anointed as king to replace a disobedient King Saul. He amazingly slew the giant Goliath and was thrust into instant national fame. But King Saul's jealous rage sent David running for his life, which led him to spend the better part of his early life dodging Saul's repeated attempts on his life. The title tells us that he wrote this psalm when he fled from Saul into a cave. In this desperate situation where he was holed up in a cave, hiding from this madman Saul and his army, David pleads with God to have mercy. He's asking for God to be gracious to him, and he does so repeatedly to show the greatness of his distress. He is also indicating how eager he is, for his case required a speedy answer and an immediate relief that he expected only from the merciful and gracious God. Yet, David also breaks out in a song. Can you imagine that? How can I be writing songs of praise in the midst of such a disturbing situation? But here is David singing in the cave, exalting the Lord. He has something to teach us about how we are to think and act in those times when we are holed up in a cave, when God's promises don't seem true. David understood that to ask the question why in the midst of suffering is to ask the wrong question. The proper question to ask is, what do you want from me in the midst of and as a result of this trial, God? The ultimate answer always is, God wants to be glorified. God is glorified when we trust Him in the midst of our trials. Such a trust involves relying on God alone. Notice that David pleads only to God and declares that he takes refuge in God and in God's wings until the destroying storms pass by. Our refuge should also be in God. We are to entrust ourselves to Him, depending upon Him to protect us. David is hiding in a cave, but he didn't see the cave as his refuge, but God. David hid in the cave, but he didn't trust in the cave, but in the Lord. Trusting God also involves praying to Him. This psalm is a prayer. Prayer is the language of trust. Prayer is an acknowledgement that we need God. Prayer says to God and to anyone else around, I am a dependent person. I am not self-sufficient. I cannot handle this situation in my own strength, but only in God's strength. In this process, we see God as greater than any problem we face. Till next week, don't focus on how big the problem is, but how great God is. Amen.